maging matiyaga upang matuto dito sa aking channel, Sir John. Once again, welcome to my channel. Maraming salamat po sa inyong patuloy na pagtangkilik dito sa aking channel. At syempre pa, bago natin umpisahan ang ating discussion today, kagaya po ng aking nabanggit, isang pasasalamat sa mga magigiting kong subscribers na patuloy na nag-aabang nitong aking video lesson. Syempre pa, sila ay mula sa iba't ibang bansa o iba't ibang panig ng ating bansa. Sa Calabarzon, Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, and Quezon, at maging sa iba pang lugar katulad ng Pampanga, Pangasinan, Misamis, at kung saan-saan pa na patuloy na nagpapasalamat sa inyong lingkod. At syempre pa, ako po ay nagagalak at dahil sa ito, sa munting pamamaraang ito, ay kayo po ay aking natutulungan. At yung mga nasa abroad, maraming salamat din sa inyong pagtangkilik at pagme-message sa Sir kung paano ko kayo natutulungan. So, muli, maraming salamat. Gayon din ang aking pasasalamat, syempre pa sa aking mga kababayan dito sa Lucena City, sa mga mag-aaral na patuloy na tumatangkilik ng video lesson ng Sir. Maraming salamat sa inyo. Kaya naman mamaya, after our discussion, pwede kayong mag-comment dun sa comment section ng ating YouTube channel sa ibaba upang sa gayon, malay nyo by next video lesson ng Sir ay mabati ko kayo at mapasalamatan personally. So, kung ready na kayo, let us now begin with our discussion. Today, our topic to be discussed is about concept of ratio and proportion and different types of proportion. Well, this is your week 2 lesson ng inyong second quarter. So, noong last video, na-discuss na natin kung ano ang ratio. So, this time, we will give more emphasis on this what you call proportion. Ano ba itong proportion? When you say proportion is a statement of equality between two ratios. So, klaro yun. Equality between two ratios. Meaning, kung meron tayong ratio of A is to B and C is to D, and they are equal, then masasabi natin itong two ratios ay proportion. Just like what you see dito sa ating monitor. Now, pwede natin siyang isulat katulad nitong nasa baba. A is to B equals C is to D. A, B, C, and D are what? The terms in a proportion. Ibig sabihin, ang proportion pala ay merong 4 terms. A being the first term, B as second term, C third term, and D last term. Now, in here, yung A and D, ang tawag sa kanila ay extremes. Yung first and last term, ang tawag sa kanila, extremes. While the second and the third term, ang tawag naman ay means. Ano naman ang kinalaman ng means and extremes in a proportion? Sinasabi na the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. So, yun ang panghahawakan natin. Ibig sabihin nun, the product of the means equals the product of the extremes. That is, AD equals BC. Pag sinabing AD, it is A times D. At pag sinabing BC, it is B times C. Okay? So, yan ang ating magiging basis sa ating pagpapatuloy ng ating discussion today. Now, example. In here, we are asked to solve and determine whether each is a proportion or not. If it is a proportion, write yes. If it is not, write no. Example number 1. 2 is to 3 and 4 is to 6. At first, we need to apply cross products para na sa ganun, ma-identify natin kung ito bang two ratios na ito ay proportion o hindi. So, gawin natin. 2 is to 3 and 4 is to 6, cross products, meaning to say that is 2 times 6. Kita niyo yung arrow, ano? And then equal to 3 times 4. What is 2 times 6 and what is 3 times 4? So 2 times 6, 12. 3 times 4, 12. So if you notice, 12 equals 12. Therefore, 2 is to 3 and 4 is to 6 here is an example of a proportion. Kasi nga, ang kanilang products ng means at product ng extremes ay equal. Okay? Now, if you look at the given 2 is to 3 and 4 is to 6, ito other option nyo. Kung titingnan nyo yung 4 is to 6, pwede siyang i-simplify as 2 is to 3. And very obvious na 2 is to 3 and 4 is to 6 here are what? Equivalent ratios. And since they are equivalent ratios, kapag equivalent ratios, then nakaka-form sila ng tinatawag nating proportion. O matatawag natin silang proportion. Kasi nga, equivalent ratios. Okay? So, pwede yun. That's one way of determining whether the two ratios are proportion or not. Okay? Let us have another example. 6 is to 7 and 24 is to 28. Katulad sa ating nauna example, we will apply cross products. So, paano yun? Ito, kita natin, yung 6 is to be multiplied by 28 and 7 is to be multiplied by 24. So, that is 6 times 28 equals 7 times 24. Once na ang product nitong left side at saka yung right side o left-hand side and right-hand side ay nagkatulad, then the two ratios is a proportion. What is 6 times 28 and what is 7 times 24? Kapag sunod natin, the product is 168. Pareho silang 168. Therefore, the two ratios is what? A proportion. So, we can write yes. And once again, pag tinignan natin yung 24 is to 28, we can simplify it. Pwede siyang i-divide by 6. 24 divided by, pwede silang i-divide by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. And again, 6 is to 7 here, and 24 is to 28 are what? Equivalent ratios. Kaya naman, sila ay proportion. Next, 2 is to 5 and 4 is to 12. Apply cross products. Paano? 2 is to be multiplied by 12 and 5 is to be multiplied by 4. What is 2 times 12 and what is 5 times 4? Well, 2 times 12 is 24. 5 times 4 is 20. Obviously, 24 is not equal to 20. Therefore, these two ratios are what? Not a proportion. Okay? Now, let's take a look. 4 is to 12. Pwede natin siyang i-lowest term. Pwede siyang maging 1 is to 3. Kapag i-divide ang 4 and 12 by 4. And we know na 2 is to 5 is different from 1 is to 3. So, they are not equivalent ratios. Kaya naman, hindi sila proportion. Next example, 28 is to 42 and 2 is to 3. Again, apply cross products. Then, anong mangyayari? 28 is to be multiplied by 3 and 42 is to be multiplied by 2. So, what is 28 times 3 and what is 42 times 2? Kapag sinolve, 84 equals 84. Again, pareho ng product. Ibig sabihin, yes ang ating sagot. Yung two ratios are what? Proportion. Okay? Next, 15 is to 20 and 5 is to 6. Okay? By the way, going back to 28 is to 42 and 2 is to 3, kapag isinimplify ang 28 is to 42, pwede silang i-divide pareho sa 14. At kapag i-divide by 14, 28 is to 42 will become what? 2 is to 3. So, ibig sabihin, 28 is to 42 and 2 is to 3 ay equivalent ratios. Kaya naman, sila ay proportion. Okay? Now, 15 is to 20 and 5 is to 6. Apply cross products. Paano? 15 is to be multiplied by 6 and 20 is to be multiplied by 5. So, 15 times 6 equals 20 times 5. So, what is 15 times 6 and what is 20 times 5? 15 times 6 is 90, while 20 times 5 is 100. Obvious, 90 is not equal to 100. Kaya naman, not a proportion. Ang sagot, no. Kapag in-lowest term natin, yung 15 is to 20, pwede silang i-divide by 5, magiging siyang 3 is to 4. Kung saan, yung 3 is to 4, kakaiba sa 5 is to 6. Kaya naman, hindi sila proportion. Okay? Okay. Next, solve each proportion. Ibig sabihin, itong two ratios na to ay talagang proportion. Ang target natin is to look for the value of the unknown n. Paano nga natin gagawin yan? Ay di yung cross products na ginawa natin kanina. So, dito, sa case na to, 5 is to be multiplied by n and 12 is to be multiplied by 35. Tingnan natin. 5 times n equals 12 times 35. If you notice in our equation, meron tayong given letter o given variable, ang tawag sa letter na n. At dahil siya i-multiply sa number na 5, ang target natin is to remove that coefficient 5. Paano? I-divide natin ang given equation by that coefficient 5. Okay? So, divide natin. Kita nyo? Dinivide natin both sides by 5. Ang target is to eliminate 5 doon sa kalapit nung n. Okay. Now, on the other side, 12 times 35 all over 5. Siyempre, ang pwede natin i-cancel by 5 dito ay yung 35. And what is 35 divided by 5? It is 7. So, kung mapapansin nyo, nagkaroon ng cancellation. Ano ngayon ang matitira? Sa left-hand side, meron kang n. While on the other side, what is 12 times 7? Yun ang inyong kukunin. Okay? So, 12 times 7, kayo na ang magsagot. At kapag nakuha nyo yung 12 times 7, yun ang sagot dito sa problem na ito. Okay? Next, n is to 52 and 180 is to 120. If you look at this given, 180 is to 120, parang unlaki naman. So, at first, i-lowest term muna natin. Pwede silang i-divide by 60. So, 180 divided by 60 is 3 and 120 divided by 60 is 2. So, if you notice, mababa na. Instead of 180 is to 120, naging na siyang 3 is to 2. And to solve for the unknown, gawin ulit natin yung cross products. N is to be multiplied by 2 and 52 is to be multiplied by 3. Paano nga? N times 2 equals 52 times 3. Ano ngayon yung kalapit ng n? Yun, 2. Ibig sabihin, i-divide natin itong equation by 2. Kasi ang target natin is to solve for n. May ka-times na 2. So, ibig sabihin, di-divide natin siya sa 2. Kanina, doon sa una example, ay yung n i-multiply sa 5. Kaya naman, i-divide natin by 5. Pero this time, yung n i-multiply sa 2. Kaya naman, para ma-solve ang n, i-divide natin ang equation by 2. So, cancel yung 2. Obvious. Tama? Pero doon sa kabilang side, 52 times 3 all over 2, ang pwedeng ma-cancel ay 52 and 2. So what is 52 divided by 2? The answer is 26. Okay? Paano natin masasagot? Copy yung n. Okay? At para masagot, ano yung 26 times 3? Well, I guess kaya nyo yan. 26 times 3. At kung ano yung sagot na yun, yun ang sagot dito sa example number 2. Example number 3. 18 is to n equals 21 is to 28. I-observe lang ulit natin. Meron kaya tayong pwedeng i-lowest term? Yun. Yung 21 is to 28. Pwedeng i-divide pareho by 7. So, what is 21 divided by 7 and 28 divided by 7? Ang sagot, 3 and 4. 21 divided by 7 is 3. While 28 divided by 7 is 4. So, instead of 21 is to 28, naging na siyang 3 is to 4. Again, cross products. 18 is to be multiplied by 4 and n is to be multiplied by 3. That is, 18 times 4 equals n times 3. Saan i-multiply ang n? Sa 3. Ibig sabihin, i-divide natin siya sa 3. Good, very good. So, cancel ang 3, tama? While on the other side, alin ang pwedeng makancel? Yun, 18 and 3. So, what is 18 divided by 3? The answer is 6. Now, sa pagpapatuloy, what is 6 times 4? Wow, dali. And that is our n value. Okay? Next, n is to 4 and 24 is to 6. So, alin ang pwedeng i-lowest term? Yun. 24 is to 6. Ibig sabihin, pwede silang i-divide pareho by 6. So, magiging na siyang 4 is to 1. Okay? So, next, cross products. N is to be multiplied by 1 and 4 is to be multiplied by 4. That is, n times 1 equals 4 times 4. Ano ang, let's say, saan i-multiply ang n? Sa 1. So, useless, kapag i-divide natin sa 1, edi makakancel lang. At kahit anong number na kapag i-divide sa 1 is the number itself. So, ibig sabihin, n is equal to what? 4 times 4. Na alam ko namang kayang-kaya nyo. Ayos? Okay. Next, example number 5. 10 is to 16 equals n is to 56. We can simplify 10 is to 16. Pwede silang i-divide by 2 parehas. Tama? So that is 10 divided by 2, 5, and 16 divided by 2, 8. So, apply cross products. 5 is to 8, n is to 56. 5 is to be multiplied by 56, and 8 is to be multiplied by n. That is, 5 times 56 equals 8 times n. In this equation, yung n itinimes sa 8. Tama? So, i-divide natin sila by 8. So, syempre, cancel ang 8. Tapos, sa 5 times 56 all over 8, alin ang pwede? Yun, 56 and 8 by 8. So, 56 will become what? 7. And then, pagpapatuloy, 5 times 7, yun, alam kong alam niya yan. That is equal to n. Okay? So, 5 times 7 equals n. Now, let us proceed to the types of proportion. Meron tayong 3 types of proportion. Una, direct proportion. When one quantity increases, the other quantity increases at the same rate and vice versa. Well, pwede rin naman when one quantity decreases, the other quantity decreases at the same rate and vice versa. Ibig sabihin lang nun, kapag tumaas yung isang value, dapat yung kapartner tataas din. O kung bumaba man yung isang value, dapat yung partner niya bababa rin. So, dapat pareho sila. Parehong tataas or parehong bababa. Para siya ay may consider na direct proportion. Next type is indirect or inverse proportion. When one quantity increases, the other quantity decreases and vice versa. Ibig sabihin niyan, kapag ang isang value ay tumaas, yung kapartner niya bababa. Or kapag ang isang value ay bumaba, yung kapartner naman niya tataas. Magkasalungat sila. Unlike kanina, parehong tumaas, parehong bumaba. Ito, isa'y tataas, isa'y bababa, or isa'y bababa, at ang isa ay tataas. Ayos? Next, last type is this what you call partitive proportion. A whole is divided into parts that is proportional to the given ratio. So there is a partition, there is a division. May pagkakahati-hati. Kaya siya tinawag na partitive proportion. And para maunawaan natin ito ng mas mainam, ay let us have our samples. So tingnan natin. In here, identify the type of proportion that the following problems illustrates. Then, solve the problems. Tingnan natin. Example number 1. A car is able to travel 210 kilometers in 3 hours. How far can it travel in 5 hours? Kung i-analyze natin yung problem, ano ang given natin? 210. Oh, this is a direct proportion, by the way. Bakit siya naging direct proportion? Kung mapapansin nyo, sabi doon sa problem, 210 kilometers in 3 hours. Kung ikaw yung, let's say, nagda-drive, tapos nag-drive ka ng 5 hours, sa iyong palagay, tumaas yung number of hours, lalayo kaya yung number, o tataas din kaya yung number of kilometers? Diba? So, syempre, obvious, this is an example of a direct proportion. Tama? At syempre pa, to solve the problem, ano nga ang given natin? Meron tayong 210 kilometers in 3 hours. Tama? Tapos, meron din namang n kilometer or kilometers in 5 hours. Bakit naging n kilometer? Kasi yun yung tanong, how far can it travel in 5 hours? Okay? So, these are the given dito sa problem na to. Ngayon, paano tayo magkakaroon ng proportion? So, yung 210 and n, pwede natin siyang isulat as ratio already. Palaging ganyan, yung unang dalawang given, consider natin siya as ratio. And since this is a direct proportion, yung 3 and 5 is another ratio. So, ang atin ng magiging equation ay 2:10, 210 is to n equals 3 is to 5. At kagaya ng ginawa natin kanina, dahil meron tayong, let's say, proportion dito, apply cross products. That is 210 times 5 equals n times 3. Tanda niya? And then, since ang n ay i-multiply sa 3, i-divide natin ang equation by 3. Okay? So, cancel ang 3. Tama? Tapos, doon sa left-hand side, alin ang pwedeng i-cancel by 3? Yung 210. So, that is 70. Tapos, 70 times 5, yun ang value ng ating n. Ibig sabihin, yung 70 times 5, yun yung number of unknown kilometer. Kaya nyong isolve. Tama? Tama. Next, example number 2. 5 people can finish painting a wall in 5 hours. If only 2 people are available, how many hours do they have to work to finish the same job? Ano kaya klaseng proportion ito? Direct, indirect, or partitive? Sabi sa problem, 5 tao sa 5 oras. Ang available lang ay 2 tao. So, kung i-analyze natin yung situation, kung 2 tao lang ang mag-paint, tatagal ba o bibilis? Sa 5 tao, 5 oras. 2 tao lang. So, ibig sabihin, yung 5 tao nabawasan. Pero, yung oras kaya, madadagdagan o mababawasan din? Yun, syempre, tatagal. Ano, kaya, instead na 5 hours, pwedeng more than 5 hours. Pero yung tao, umunti. So, one decreases while the other increases. Ibig sabihin, this is an indirect or inverse proportion. Okay? So, tingnan ulit natin. Ano ang given? 5 people, 5 hours. At syempre pa, meron kang 2 people and hours. Kasi hindi mo alam yung number of hours na ipagtatrabaho kung dalawang tao lamang. At kagaya kanina, pwede natin gawing ratio yung 5:2. Yung 5 people and 2 people. Now, anong mangyayari sa 5 hours at n hours? Since this is an indirect proportion o yung tinatawag nating inverse proportion, hindi natin pwedeng gawing 5:n. Dahil siya ay indirect, magiging siyang n:5. Unlike kanina, nung direct, tama lang. Kinopya lang natin. Pero since this is an indirect proportion, hindi siya magiging 5:n. Siya ay magiging n:5. Okay? Babalik ta rin lang natin. Ayos? And then from here, apply cross products. That is 5 times 5 equals 2 times n. Saan i-multiply ang n? Sa 2. So, ibig sabihin, i-divide natin ito equation by 2. So, cancel ang 2. And then 5 times 5 all over 2. Meron bang pwede i-cancel? Wala. So, dahil wala, get the product of 5 times 5. Tapos, yung sagot, i-divide nyo sa 2. Yun yung number of hours na nawawala. Example number 3. At 65 kilometers per hour, Alfred can reach home in 50 minutes. At what speed should he drive his car so that he can reach home 10 minutes earlier? Tingnan natin. 65 kilometers per hour ay di 50 minutes mararating ni Alfred ang kanilang bahay or tahanan. Tapos, ang tanong, ano daw ang dapat na speed na gawin ni Alfred para makadating siya sa kanilang tahanan 10 minutes earlier? Ibig sabihin, yung 50 minutes magiging 40 minutes kasi 10 minutes earlier. Tama ba? Ngayon, kung halimbawang mababawasan ang bilang ng minuto, sa inyong palagay, tataas kaya yung speed na gagamitin ni Alfred o bababa? Siyempre, yung minutes na bawasan, so dapat mas bibilisan ni Alfred para makarating siya ng bahay nila 10 minutes earlier. Kaya yung speed ay tataas pero yung oras ay bababa. So isa ay tumaas, isa ay bumaba. Ibig sabihin, ito ay indirect or inverse proportion. So tingnan ulit natin ang given. 65 kilometers per hour, 50 minutes. Tama? At what speed? So hindi natin alam, and kilometers per hour. And yung isa naman ay 40 minutes kasi nga sabi natin 10 minutes earlier. Okay? Dahil ito ay inverse or indirect proportion, sa una, copy yung ratio 65:n. Tapos anong gagawin natin dun sa 50:40? Magiging siyang 40:50 dahil nga siya ay indirect proportion. Pero kung siya ay direct proportion, dapat yun ay 50:40. Hindi nga. Dahil siya ay indirect, dapat 40:50. Okay? Now, apply cross products. 65 times 50 equals n times 40. Saan i-multiply ang n sa equation na to? By 40. Ibig sabihin, i-divide natin ang equation by 40. In this case, cancel ang 40. Tama? Okay. Now, alin ang pwedeng makancel dun sa kabilang side? 65 times 50 all over 40. Well, in this case, pwede nating i-simplify yung 50 and 40 by 10. Kaya, instead na 50 over 40, magiging na siyang 5 over 4. At dahil wala nang pwedeng i-divide by 4, ang gagawin nyo dito sa case na to, get the product of 65 and 5. Tapos yung sagot, i-divide nyo sa 4. Okay? Para na sa ganon, malaman nyo yung kilometer per hour na kailangan ni Alfred para maka-arrive siya ng 10 minutes earlier. Again, get the product of 65 and 5. Eh di may sagot. Yung sagot nun, i-divide nyo by 4. So, that's it. Next, example number 4. A land area was divided among the 3 areas in the ratio 5:2:4. If the largest share was 20 hectares of land, what is the total area of the land? Yun. So, dahil nagkakaroon ng division dito, nagkakaroon ng partition ng mana, mana. Eh, di ibig sabihin, this is a sample of the what you call partitive proportion. Okay? Now, ano ang given natin? 5:2:4. Yan yung given ratio. Now, going back to the problem, sabi doon, if the largest share was 20 hectares of land, 20 hectares of land, ay di alin ang mas malaki ba dito? Yung 5, 2, or 4? Siyempre yung 5. Meron daw 20 hectares. From 5, paano kaya naging 20? So, from 5, paano naging 20? Ibig sabihin, i-multiply ito by 4. Kasi 5 times 4 will give us 20. At dahil ito ay proportion, ay di-multiply natin yung 2 by 4. So, that is 8. And syempre pa yung 4 by 4. That is 16. Gets natin? Okay. Then after this, ano kasunod? I-add natin yung 28 and 16 hectares. Uy, kayang-kaya nyong i-add yan para na sa ganon, makuha nyo yung total area of the land. Okay? Yun. Next, example number 5. A certain amount of money is divided among Rio, Kim, and Leo in the ratio 5:7:3. If Leo gets 24,000 pesos, how much is the total amount? Yun. Nagkakaroon ulit ng division, ng partition. So, therefore, this is a partitive proportion. Ano ang given? 5:7:3. 5 ang share ni Rio, Kim ay 7, while Leo ay 3. In the problem, Leo gets 24,000 pesos. So, kung ang share ni Leo ay 3 parts, ay di naging 24,000, ibig sabihin, i-multiply ito by 8,000. Nakuha? So, 3 times 8,000 pesos is 24,000 pesos. At dahil ito ay proportion, i-multiply natin, syempre, yung kay Kim ng 8,000 pesos. Yung sagot, kayo na ang maglagay. At syempre pa, yung kay Rio, times 8,000 pesos din. So, ilagay nyo rin yung sagot for Rio. At pagkatapos ito, katulad nung ating example number 4, add the 3 amounts. Para na sa ganon, makuha nyo yung total amount na ibinigay. Yung kanilang mana. Okay? Okay. Muli po, maraming salamat sa inyong matiyagang pakikinig upang matuto dito sa aking channel, Sir Joel. But please do not forget to click like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more notifications. Thank you, thank you!